So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. So good to have you all here. So the message at Satsang is there's nothing to seek and there's no one to seek it. And that's the freedom. Because this is all that's going on, literally. This moment, this. I hasten to even call it a moment because it never really becomes anything, does it? Right? If something's always moving, what do you call it? If it never stops changing, there's no word for it. And as a seeker, I mean, it doesn't ever lead anywhere. All seeking does is lead to more seeking. Okay, so after that ginormous Zoom bomb, let's see if we can pick up where we left off. So I was saying that this, and again, I was hastened to call it a moment, but this, whatever's happening right now, I don't have a better word, is literally, take this in, is literally all that's happening. So this is all that's happening. And the me says, yeah, but I don't like it. That's the suffering. Because there's only what's happening. And life doesn't check with you or me first. It's out of control. I mean, that Zoom bomb was a perfect example of, it was like all hell breaking loose. I felt like I opened Pandora's box. So there's no rules to this. There's no right and there's no wrong. Those are both of the me. So it can hit you that whatever you're seeking for, you're never going to find. And that is both the bad news for the seeker, but it's the good news for you. So there's no hope for the seeker. That one is doomed. So we can look at that and say, well, what actually am I seeking for? And I'll tell you what, honestly, the me doesn't even know what it's looking for. It really doesn't. It tries everything: relationships, drugs, money, food, sex, whatever it can get its little grubs on. But those are all experiences. And so the me says, when I get this one experience, then all my ducks are going to be in a row. It's never happened. And it never will. It's an illusion. It's the seeking energy. So what is it that's seeking? What is that? Can we find the seeker? This moment is so empty, and yet it's so full with everything that's appearing. Every sound, every itch, every image. Right now, sound of my voice, little itty bitty pictures of people on a screen. This moment is it, and it will always be it. And it's just a matter of how long it takes. I know this sounds funny, but it takes no one to see that. There's no one that sees this. And yet, somehow it can land. There can be just a recognition of like, all that seeking and time and energy and money, buying books, reading, going to seminars, trying to find my true self. Oh God. So for me, it was the truth. That's what I was seeking. And so I had tunnel vision. I was like, nope, I only want the truth. And so that made life not a lot of fun. Because I'm like, well, this isn't the truth. So, but no, this is the truth. That's the revelation. This is what I was looking for. And it doesn't matter what you call it. The truth was a word that it seems really shiny and holy, but it's just another damn word that the humans came up with, that the mind came up with. There is no truth, and this is it. It's not like there's some truth somewhere else. That's what I thought. that if I just keep seeking, somehow this alternate, I don't know what I thought it was going to be. Alternate reality? No, just this. And this is already free. Look around. Everything's free. Nothing is suffering except the damn me. So we can open it up to questions or comments, or feel free to unmute yourself. So whatever's happening is it. Go ahead, Faith.
I was just going to say, I was fascinated with my 15-year-old granddaughter, who's interested to know what I write in my journal. And I let her read my journal, and she said, oh, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm not surprised. So I thought, what can I say to her that might help her to understand? And I said to her, who are you without your thoughts and your feelings? Who are you? And, and she said to me, a piece of meat.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been called the meat suit, the body. Yeah. Yeah, you can't really explain this.
No.
Because it really doesn't make any sense to like 99% of the population. For the me is very real, and some me's are heavier than others, but all me's suffer to some extent, just some greater than others. Really, it's the ones that suffer the most that tend to end up at satsang. That's why we call it the last house on the block. You have to try all the other ones, try and get all your goals, try and control. That is the me's number one illusion, is it thinks it can control things.
And then I was thinking, as I was swimming today, I was thinking how this non-dual message, I don't understand it all. Intellectually, I don't understand, probably don't understand it. But I understand enough to know that it sort of contradicts each other. You know, statements seemingly contradict one another, and it's all a bit of a mix-up, and, you know, you're nothing but you're something, or you're everything but you're nothing, and all of this sort of thing. And I'm fascinated that I love that all. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
I would love all that seemingly contradictory stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've spent years, it seems, trying to figure it out with my mind. What is it I'm doing wrong? What can I do better? How can I handle this? And then I get to the end of that, and it's all like all this, it's everything and nothing, and but I'm relieved and delighted to arrive at that point. Because
Yeah.
it sort of, I suppose, Michael, because it puts paid, it's probably because it puts paid to the seeking to get to this point. It's, well, I suppose I still seek, but something, this non-dual message, it just cuts through the seeking mechanism somehow.
Yeah, it's not logical. That's one of the traps that every seeker falls into is, well, if I could just understand non-duality. But you can see the problem right there. You've got two things. So the separation, which isn't real, but it feels real. So we're not, by the way, we're not disputing it. You can feel like you're separate. But what I'm saying is that's just a feeling. That's not actual, you're not, I mean, you couldn't exist if you were really separate. It would be, it's sort of, you know what it's like? It's sort of like, you imagine if your right hand thought it was separate from your left foot. Well, look, I'm a hand, I'm up here, my foot's down there, we're separate. Yeah, in the story. But it's one body. So imagine that there was something that could appear as anything, but it itself was nothing. And so Jim Newman calls it a mystery, and I agree. That is a mystery, something that could be everything and anything, and yet is nothing itself. That's a damn mystery. That's the mystery of all mysteries. And it's not a mystery to be solved. And the me doesn't like that.
Actually, I wouldn't say the me doesn't like that. I would say the me doesn't see that. The me sees that this is another thing for me to solve, because that's what the me sees. The me sees everything as another moment of solving, sees everything as something to be solved. So when you tell the me, this can't be solved, can't be known, it can't be done, anything can't be, there's nothing that can be done with it. The me, it doesn't even see that. It just like goes over the head, and the me just keeps trying to solve. So just pointing that out, because, just this idea that the me is turning all of this nothing that, Michael, you just mentioned, the nothing that's appearing as everything. It doesn't see it as nothing. It already sees it as things, as something. That's just the way the me, perceives. It can't perceive. It can't perceive this message. And that's why it's not knowable. That's why it doesn't make sense. So the me is always trying to make sense, which is part of this trying to get the answer, trying to solve the problem. So now there's, I was going to launch into something else, but I'm going to just let it. Okay, I'm just going to say what I was going to say, which is that there's kind of two ways here. So one way is for the me to continue to try to use the satsang, to use the pointers as another moment of trying to crack that nut, or trying to get rid of the problem, or if it comes from a different place, which is just being done with this whole seeking, with this whole activity, not that it's letting it go, it's just done with it. It's just getting old. So there's a need to just divest, and then that's the opening that starts to let the magic of the mystery do its work. So,
yeah, I'll just add to that you don't have to know. When we say the seeking you can get fed up with it, the mind will then say, well, then what? What do I do then? Okay, Dan and Michael, that sounds really great. I shouldn't seek, kind of makes sense, but I can't, I can't help it, because if I don't seek, what will I do? And the answer is not to fill that in with something else. It's just the end of the seeking. It's not, and in its place, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
and if the me is ready, then that space will open up. And if it's not, then it'll continue to use whatever comes in as another moment of this trying to get it. And that's where we talk about grace. If there's grace, then that me will start to just open and start to hear this and want more, and want more letting go of concepts, letting go of everything. But that, again, it just happens because the me is getting worn out.
Yeah, it's sort of the me's interest in its problems and its dilemma that keeps it going.
Yeah.
So once that interest, it's like being exhausted. At least that's what happened here. I tried everything. So that's why I'm always encouraging people, try everything you can think of to make yourself, feel whole and complete, or whatever it is you're looking for. Try everything. And only when you see for yourself, and that's the key, right? You have to see this for yourself. That's why intellectual doesn't work, because you're believing somebody else's words. But when you see this for yourself, in your bones, then you start to speak with authority, because you're like, no, this is it. I recognize this somehow. This is what I've wanted, but you can't explain. You can't explain it. There's just a piece. I don't know. I want to say peace for no reason. Right? That's the peace that path all understanding. That famous quote, the peace is beyond all understanding from the Bible. This can't be understood with the logical mind, but who cares? Now, I want to call on Alice, if I could, because Alice, would you mind unmuting? Alice, I want to say, so Alice took a private from Tim Kliss in, I guess, the afternoon, and then a private with me later on that same day.
Wow.
And I noticed that the energy, Alice and I, we had a beautiful session, and you commented, Alice, you said it was so great to talk to you without any story. You know, we didn't get into story. You and I had a so I was just wondering, is there anything going on for you that seems, I don't know, I want to say a little different than maybe from a few months ago?
Oh, definitely. Yes. I just feel different. I feel more confident. I mean, if that's, I know the person has to come, but I mean, I feel a little more grounded, not so caught up into all this stuff and spinning. And I noticed the other night you and I had a lot of fun. And I'm really starting to love coming. I mean, I did like it at the beginning, but now it is starting to grow on me to listen to Temclis and to listen to, or to be here, and movement in that direction, which feels really nice. I mean, it seems to, of course, to me, is always looking for a purpose, but it somehow feels like a good purpose or something.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Anybody else? By the way, I will say that I've heard Jim Newman talk about applied non-duality. And he does it as a kind of a joke, because that's what the me will do. That's sort of its last try. It will try and take non-duality and then use it and just say, okay, there's no me, there's no problem, there's no world, but that's not what we're talking about. I know for me, it was helpful to realize that it's not that the me disappears. It's that the me was actually never there. And I know that sounds incredible. I would say the me is an assumption that never really got investigated. It just came about when we're around 2 years old. I learned to be a me, and I learned things were mine, and there were other things that were not mine. And from there, everybody builds a life. And so it's those few rare individuals that, as I've said, I couldn't get life to work. Michael was a failure at life. I couldn't figure out how people could do it. I'd look around, other people kind of seemed like they did, although a lot of times they didn't look particularly happy either, but at least they appeared confidently in their unhappiness. So that was, to begin to realize you don't know. In fact, let's take a look right now. What is it that in this moment you think you know?
I know right now, I think that I don't like to be a witness to myself, because I don't know if anything I said was really true.
It wasn't.
Yeah. And I could feel myself feeling a little bit down after I said it. And So I knew I wanted to announce this because, like I said, it's really hard to be a witness to myself because it does go up and down.
Yeah.
What I know for sure is that we had more fun last night than we've ever had. And I don't know if I even know that.
Well, I don't know who you have fun with, but it wasn't with me last night because we met on Monday.
I mean, Monday.
So that's perfect, Alice. Let's use that, right? Let's get some work done. That's what happens, right? Right now in this moment, you shared and then something came in and said, oh, well, maybe I didn't share, as best as I could have, should have, or
Or even if it's true.
Huh?
Or even if it's really true, because it does change.
No, but what I'm saying is there is no truth.
There is none.
Yeah, that's the freedom. I mean, that's why when we say you can't get it right, but you can't get it wrong. And you could see the me always tries to get it fucking right. Every time.
And then because it didn't, it got it fucking wrong.
And then it feels guilty on top of it. Man, the me is just a bag of shit suffering. That's what the me is. Oh, that's right. I said it.
Yes.
You got to say it because it's not who you are. And there's so much space here, so much freedom, but not when you're in a constricted me, my world. All that matters is me. I'm suffering. Me. Now look, what happens when that me begins to loosen up and dissolve? And look at everything. Everything. So everything's it. That sound of the clock ticking is it. My voice is it. Alice speaking is it. Dan speaking is it. Faith speaking, all of you. Everything is it. Everything. Doesn't matter what it looks like. So there's nowhere to go. I'll tell you a red flag. Do you want to hear a red flag with the me? It's the red flag of the me, you always know, is when there's a feeling of wanting to be special. Every me wants to be special.
Yes, and it could be specially good and clever, or it could be specially bad and horrible.
Nice. So there is no special. You could say everything's special. You could say nothing's special. But it's all the same. Even though it appears differently and looks differently. Because it's all it. It's just the human, it's just the me's judgments that say this is better than that. This is a better deal than that. There's just what happens. And if what happens is not particularly liked, then that's what's happening. It doesn't mean anything's gone wrong just because you don't like it. It just means that's what's happening. So there's nowhere to get to and no one to get there. So the body will die, but not you. You won't die. You weren't born. And that's why the me is so freaked out about death, because it's gonna go. But you know, Alice, like Tim talked about, and I was so happy to hear that. That's why I love that audio you sent me, because I see death the same way he does, but it's very rare. He's the only other person I've heard say it. He said that, maybe some others have said it, but it's like deep sleep at night. When you're sleeping, but you're not dreaming. That's not bad. That's not scary. We all love deep sleep. Can't wait to go to bed and fall into a nice, heavy, deep sleep. But you don't really go anywhere. So that makes this experience so beautiful in its fragility. The fact that life is so temporary and so quick, and we're seeing it. It's like being pushed right in your face with the COVID thing, and especially here in Los Angeles. I mean, the hospitals and everything's overloaded with just bodies. Just, we have like, they're sending me things saying, yeah, someone's dying in LA every 6 minutes of COVID. So nobody is doing this. There's no one in charge. There's no guy up in the sky pulling strings. This is, as you've heard, Tony Parsons talks about, it's wild, it's free, it's chaotic. I like when Jim Newman says this word, because he always laughs after he says it, unhinged. That all means there's no control. you know, there's a great freedom in that. And I know it's hard to hear that, because if the me hears that, it's going to say, that does no control. How is that freedom? But it is. Because you stop resisting. You no longer are in defiance of life. You're no longer trying to boss life around. You don't care what life does. You just want to have peace. And you think, the me thinks that by getting what it wants and bossing life around, then it's going to have its peace. No, the peace is already here. It's right here, right now. This is the peace. But it's not in a thought. By the way, if you see me looking up to the right here, I keep seeing names pop up, but I'm leaving. I've learned my lesson about getting Zoom bombed. I'm just leaving them in the waiting room to think about how bad they've been today.
My fantasy was, because I mentioned your name in Tim Close's class, that these were new people coming to be in our group.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But see, okay. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Alice. No, because that's honest. But you can see, you can hold it lightly. Do you see? So you can. Oh, you've opened up a can here, Alice. You guys, you can say whatever you want when you come from this place of lightness and humor and love. Lightness, humor, and love. You can say anything. So yeah, that's really funny. Of course you thought that. Why wouldn't they all come here? Of course.
Michael, let him in now. We'll convert them.
No, there's someone else out here. I don't know who these people are. You missed it, Ron. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like World War III. I mean, it was like 20 people and they couldn't be muted. Yeah, it was quite the experience. But it just...
What are they, and they just started cursing?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, last time it happened was like 3 months ago when we had porn. That was fun.
These people need
There
a
is a
job.
way to
Get a
mute them,
job.
but there's a way to mute, but you'd have to mute all of us and stop us from unmuting, all kinds of fun stuff like that.
Right. Oh, okay, they just left.
That'll teach you to be late, Ron. You miss all the fun.
Well, then you almost didn't get let in, Ron, because I thought it
Michael,
said,
you're going to have a voicemail and some texts.
oh, I can't wait. Well, it's because it usually says Ron's iPad, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm in the desert. I'm on a computer. Yeah.
Okay, well, luckily I asked the group if we should take a chance, because that's why we were asking. That's why Joanna said, "Can we see your face?" And then we hear no, and I go, "That's Ron." So I guess what I'm saying is, what's going to happen, what's happening in this moment is not under anyone's control. So it's going to happen. So really, it's just your response. So if I had gotten like, angry or upset, annoyed, oh, Zoom bombers, then I'm suffering. Why the hell do I want to suffer? I don't want to suffer. So we took care of it. Joanna said, Michael, let me help you out. Boom, done. But if I had a plan, or if I thought there shouldn't be, my meeting shouldn't have Zoom bombers, and I got Zoom bomb, then you can see I'd have to suffer. So that's with woulda, shoulda, coulda. No woulda, shoulda, coulda, just what's happening. Diane, do you have something for us, dear?
My battery's running low, so I'm probably going to disappear very quickly, and I'm outside with no battery power. I think looking at suffering is a really helpful thing to do. If you can look at your own suffering and just observe it, that's a lot of what I do with my clients, which they find sometimes a little bit painful, but it has a fantastic outcome a lot of the time. After an hour and a half, they tend to walk out not crying like they were for the first 15 minutes about, you know, someone who left me, or this is not going right, or something's wrong in the world. When I just get them to look at that suffering, it starts to give them a place to start from when they've never known how to get out of suffering before. And I know that's what I did for myself initially, was just observing the suffering, the feeling of suffering, not the story, just the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about the noise. They're hammering. That's why I'm pretty quiet. It's pretty noisy next door. I just like to listen.
Yeah, you need a me to suffer.
Mm.
And there's no such thing as a me that doesn't suffer. Oh, wow. I'm glad she got to speak before. That worked out well. That's funny. When she was leaning forward, I was interpreting that as maybe she wants to say something, but she was looking at her battery to see that it was about to die. But it all worked out. Anybody else?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to comment on something earlier, but we kind of got onto our path. I'm not sure if I misinterpreted something, but it was when Dan was talking about, I mean, you both were talking about, but Dan specifically, there's something about when the me gets tired, or, you know, you just get tired. And I wasn't sure if you said the me again or the inner self, but it sounded like then you were saying then the me, or there's a part of the me that can then start to channel more of what it's revealed, you know, what more, you know, that sense of connection to, let's say, source or being. So if you could just, do you remember that part, Dan? If you,
Yeah, I
even
think
if you
so.
don't.
Right. And what I'm saying is a story. So it's just trying to put some, you know, something to words to you know, explain this what happens, what all this awakening from the me is, you know, and the idea that this, let's say, coming to this process of so-called waking up, or so-called letting go of the me, or letting, you know, can come from two places. And particularly, usually at first, it's coming very strongly from this me energy, that's doing its thing, which is trying to, you know, to make its experience better. And it comes to satsang, it comes to non-duality, it comes to whatever, to you know, as, okay, well, I tried all this other stuff, now I'm going to try this, and then maybe I'll get enlightened, and that will be my solving my problem. That, in other words, it's a continuation of the me basically being full of itself, you know. Okay, I'll be a perfect me by getting rid of myself. Okay, so then that's spiritual materialism. That's the me trying to use spirituality for its own purpose of surviving. Okay. But so I'm saying that when that's going on, you know, you can try to surrender, but then the surrender really just becomes another moment of trying, you know, and then it becomes a, you know, a dog chasing its tail, and it kind of really makes the me stronger. But then there's a whole other thing, which is when that me energy just starts to wear out. It starts to get old, and then it opens a space for what you just said as something deeper, right? You know, we could say letting making that space for reality, whatever the word we want to use, to come forward. And the me starts to, it starts to dissolve. It starts to, because it's getting obsolete. Now, does this talk to what you are asking?
Yeah, because part of where I was coming from is, because I find it interesting, because we talk so much about the me here, but it seems like, which I actually agree, that the me as a participant at some point, maybe you can say when it's worn out,
It's just
almost like it's, sorry?
I'm saying to say it's worn out, that's just a way of
Yeah. But there's an opening, and in a way, the me is a participant in the ushering in of being.
Yeah, you could say it. And that's part of what kind of ultimately doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I get it. No, it makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah,
Did you
I
say
just wanted to make sure, because we talk so much about the me as
Mhm.
you know, as a what's the word, an inhibitor or whatever, to, so, you know, we use a lot of terminology for it,
Right.
but there's a part where, as the me, you could say, is dissolving, that this other energy comes in, almost like it's driving the quote unquote what's left of the me. But it's the me in a way can still, I guess what I'm saying is, I see it still as being that participant, and that's what I heard you say. But I wanted to make sure that you said the me, instead of saying, you might have said the inner self takes over at that point, but it sounded like you did say a piece of the me was still part of that transition.
No, it's more like the inner self, if you want to use those words,
Okay.
which I wouldn't particularly, but it makes
All
sense.
right. So I have a different take on this.
Good.
And there's no hope for the me, guys. There's no rehabilitating the me. There's no involving the me in nothing. Forget it. The me is only interested in itself. And you know what? The me doesn't give a shit about you.
So by the way, I don't see that contradicting what I'm saying at all. So I'm with you. There isn't any hope for the me because the me doesn't exist, first of all.
Yeah, and it's funny because people will come to Satsang and they'll say stuff like, well, yeah, I know there's no me, but da 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 da, right? How many times have we heard that, right? Michael, I know there's not a me, but, well, no, you don't know there's not a me, or there wouldn't be a but.
But we could say there's a inner self manifesting as to the physical form that's here, right?
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah,
No.
I wouldn't necessarily use the language either, but I mean, I can go with it. I would say there's a nothing that's somehow.
There can't be a self if what we are is the thing that's witnessing it. There is the thing that we identify as the self, the me, the body, the Joanna. It doesn't actually exist. So like it's constantly changing. So if you eat something, what's comprised in your cells is totally different from 1 second to the next. As the body ages, it's totally different from 1 second to the next. There's no, I can't believe I went down that road because that's not the best example, but there's like, everything is memory and thought. It doesn't actually exist. So then the question becomes, what does that memory and thought appear in? And then it appears in the witness or the awareness or the, now we're just using a bunch of words for something we don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Well,
we don't know. We can't say.
I would say you're not even the witness.
What you talking about, Willis?
I know. This is uncompromising non-duality.
So what we're talking about is just different ways of struggling to try to put words to just the letting go. And then the question is, who's letting go and what is it that lets go? But it's just the letting go of any position, any knowledge, any stopping point or any viewpoint or any, again, any knowing. So letting go of that, but then it still brings the question, what lets go? And so we try to find the words to say it.
Right. There is no, it's just letting go. It's not someone letting go. It can be just a letting go.
Well, if you're living in a transcendent state, then I think letting go still, letting go is just, it sounds like it's good. It's a good start. It's that 97% thing we talked about on Wednesday nights. I mean, it's getting very close. And it's great to be letting go versus not, but if you're transcendent, right? I mean, if you are literally living the manifestation of pure awareness, you are, right? There's no,
right. Everything is let go. So we're talking about letting go of the idea of letting go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one to let go.
And who is it that has that idea? No, it never was.
Yeah. So this is the turtles all the way down, right, Joanna? The concepts. Witness is a concept, higher dimension, some other state. I can't emphasize enough that there's just what's happening right now. This is it. There's no transcendent state. There's no witness. There's just this. And it's a mystery. It's the mystery of all mysteries. Can't be solved. It can be enjoyed. You can laugh. You can cry. You can be frustrated. You can be pissed. It has it all. What it doesn't have is an owner. Joanna, turtles all the way down. Yeah, the mind loves concepts. That's its currency. The mind can only think in concepts, right? God, it's a concept. You've never met God. You've never met anything called God up in the sky. There's just what's appearing, and we can't say what that is.
But we can say it's not appearing to anyone.
But it's an appearance. It's not solid. And the me treats everything as solid and real. we talk about here at Satsang is it being both real and unreal simultaneously, which is like a dream basically. So a dream feels real, seems real, but when you wake up from it, where is it?
And how could there be anything solid? If there was something solid, then there would be something on the other side of that solid that wasn't solid. Solid is a word. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's another
It's all
concept.
the language of duality, which is not.
Yeah. So all words are concepts. And that's really, I think, helpful. If there's something that can, sort of, because often we're talking with words like they're real solid things. They're not. These are just words. They have no meaning except what we give them. They're inherently empty, like everything. So it's really useful, and you'll start to see your concepts crumble. Because there was a time a few years ago where I used to talk about awareness, and I used to talk about consciousness. But then I came to realize, oh, where's consciousness? I don't know where that is. I mean, it's a really powerful sounding word, but I couldn't find it. All that is this right here, this moment. This is it. This is the whole, there's nothing more than this, you guys. There's not a world. There's not a universe. There's just literally this. This is the universe. This is the universe right here. Whatever your experience is, this is everything. There's nothing hidden, nothing behind the curtains. Just this. And it's never ending changing. Just change, change, change.